Hi, Fems. Happy Wednesday. I am Violette de Ayala. I'm the founder of FemCity, and you're joining me for our Wednesday series. It is also our podcast as well, Business for Your Soul, and we live stream into our Facebook group. So if you ever want to join us over on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/FemCity and join us there live as well. So today we have an amazing expert. I'm so intrigued with this topic. All of this is it's just very fascinating for me. I hope it is fascinating for you as well. Michelle Butt is one of our FemCity Global members. And today we're going to talk about facial recognition and how it can help you in business and in your life. She's going to share with us some tips and tricks. Michelle, welcome to the FemCity Podcast and Facebook Live series. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. So am I. Thanks for having me. This is great.
It is. I'm so excited. So how did you get into this? Like, share a little bit about your background, because I find this so fascinating. I've always been kind of like obsessed with body language, what body language actually tells us about other people. Facial recognition is just like I told you last week or the week before, is just mind blowing. I love this topic so much. How did you get into this?
Yeah, actually, well, in university, I studied linguistics and communication. So I've always been kind of interested in how we connect with each other. Yeah. And I became a coach. And then during my coaching practice in the very beginning, I was feeling like, okay, people aren't telling me exactly what's going on in their head, and we're not getting to the root of the solution. So I went looking for a tool, and I came across a book on face reading, and I read it, and I was like, this is the missing piece for me. And I just started looking at faces differently and realized that if I combined what features and wrinkles and markings mean with linguistics and NLP and all the other things that I'm trained in, I can create a body of work that's facial intelligence that really helps people look at each other and understand them on a whole nother level, so that they can build relationships and further their understanding of other people.
Love it. Love it. And we have some femmes that are joining us. Grace joins us every week, it seems. Grace, we love having you here, and she's tagging a lot of her friends to watch, which we also love as well. It means that we're creating content that's beneficial to our femmes. So let's go ahead and dive in, because some femmes are probably like, this is fascinating, right? But how does it help me? So so you mentioned a little bit about facial recognition. You mentioned a little bit like it being wrinkles. I know when we chatted last time, you mentioned even the eyebrow shape, certain things. So facial recognition is just kind of define that for those femmes.
Yeah. So facial intelligence is really the study of faces, features, markings, wrinkles, to understand someone's personality traits, their behavioral habits, and how to connect and communicate with them.
Awesome. So. And so, yeah, my next question was going to be like, how does it help you in business? But obviously, I mean, even body language, I remember I read one book like 20 years ago. So I'm definitely, this is not I just read that one book, but I remember reading and like when people have their arms crossed, what does that mean? I remember like when someone told me, or when I read that book, if they cover their mouth like this, it means that they want to say something, but they're holding themselves back. Like there were little things like that actually could help you in business. So for facial recognition, again, it's like on steroids, right? It's like body language on steroids. How can it help people in business, knowing those little tips and tricks that you're going to share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. So body language really is kind of in the moment, figuring out how people are reacting to you. And facial intelligence, I like to say, is very much a proactive thing, because it's like doing a personality test without the test. So you can look at a picture of someone and look at the way their features show up on their face and the combinations of features, and get an idea as to which one of the 5 personality types that show up in facial intelligence that person might be. So even before you hop into a scenario where you're interacting with them, their picture will give you some information about who they are without you having to hand them the questionnaire or send them to a website. So then you can figure out, oh, well, they're an introvert, or that you can then watch how the features move. And when you know what each feature means, then you can layer in, oh, I see the emotional response. I see what they're thinking about, because you know what the features that are kind of moving around are telling you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then part of business, part of when we talk about business within FemCity, we talk about relating to others, right? being a couple steps ahead so that when you share information, it really is the perfect information that person is requesting. And so all those little hints, all those little tips and tricks really help. I guess what you're saying is that it helps for us to connect with people in a more profound way, without having those words there, that you get to know the person better so that you're able to communicate more clearly to them so they understand more, perhaps your business, the services, the products, or even just building relationships where they feel more connected to you, which means that the trust factor is a little bit higher than just cold turkey kind of introduction or meeting people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a way for when you start a conversation, people to say, oh, wow, that she already gets me. I don't even know how she gets me. She just knows. And really, you're just looking at them and they're telling you how to get them. And if you can read their face, then you're just, reflecting back the person that they are wanting you to see, which when you can't do that, we all read faces a little bit unconsciously, but when you can do it consciously, then you build that rapport and that bond so much faster and it's so much stronger.
Love it. All right. So some love came through. So Julie, hey, Julie, she's just glad to be here. Valerie also is joining us, another South Florida femme. Grace says, wow, this is an amazing topic. And then Julie says, this is really great. I know, I'm fascinated by it. And if you guys need us to do a part 2, please let us know. We're going to kind of do the best we can with the time constraints that we have today, but we can always have Michelle come back if we want to go ahead and do a part 2, which is what happened last week when we did this for FemCity. I believe we ended up creating a second part as well. All right, so what are some tips and tricks? Now we have femmes that are like, okay, I'm in, I love it. What are some tips and tricks that I can use in business to help me connect with other people, which at the end of the day will help you generate more revenue and opportunities?
Yeah, so especially nowadays when most things are being done on Zoom, knowing how you show up on Zoom for that person is really, really important. So I think last time we talked a little bit about this, like if you're the speaker or you need to be the center of attention in a Zoom meeting or something like that, a really good way to ensure that you are the center of attention is to focus on your mouth, because the mouth is all about educating and feeding and giving people not just food for their bellies, but food for their minds and that kind of thing. So if you can kind of make your mouth more captivating by wearing a nice, bright, kind of noticeable lip color, then people will pay attention to you, because as you're speaking, they're going to unconsciously, they recognize that red is highlighting that part of the face that's really, really saying, hey, look at me, I've got something good to feed you.
And I love that, because I always think about this as a way to get to connect to others, but I love how you're also sharing how others can connect to us subconsciously, right? So they may not have read that book, or they may not have booked a session with you, and they just subconsciously, because of wearing something like that, as simple as wearing red lipstick, by the way, I know I keep saying I'm going to get red lipstick. I will eventually, I will get it and I will put it on. But that it makes us so that we present better to those that subconsciously will relate to us a little bit better in the information that we're sharing, because we're highlighting that mouth area that's symbolic to information, food for thought, nourishment, and all those things. So I love that kind of spin on that. And by the way, I think I told you last time, more and more female journalists, when I see them on TV, they are wearing bright colored lipstick, and it looks phenomenal. I've never been a fan of it, but now I'm recognizing it because I've learned that from you. And it's true. It makes them stand out more. It makes them so that I don't know, something about it makes you pay attention a little bit more, if that even makes sense.
Yeah, especially nowadays when most people are wearing masks, even when they're talking. So when you see the mouth actually accentuated, then you pay even more attention, because we're getting used to not seeing this part of the face on people.
On camera, yeah. And Lisa Solomon's joining us. Lisa, I believe Lisa's from Dallas, and she's joining us as well. She says, great topic. All right, so what are some other tips that you can share with us, either with when we see it on others or vice versa when people see it on us? Because I like the ability that we can do either one. What's a tip that you want to share?
Yeah, I think one that is really important for women that I haven't shared in a while, especially when so I kind of shared how to make yourself the center of attention. But if you're looking at another woman across a Zoom screen or in person, and you see certain types of wrinkles, they can tell you a little bit about the pattern of kind of emotion that person is running. And one of the ones that we see typically on women is like a little bit of a downturn curve to the mouth and some lines coming down here. And they can tend to come and go. And when you see those in facial intelligence, those are kind of akin to disappointment lines, or feeling like you're overwhelmed and you're doing everything, or, okay, I'll ask my kid to do that, but I know they're not going to do it anyway. And so it's this little pattern that's running that can come and go, because wrinkles kind of are reflections of our habits of thought and emotion. So they come and go unless we don't come out of that pattern, or we've been doing it for a really long time, then they'll stay. But if you are someone who is talking to someone, even on Zoom, and you see that, then there's an awareness there to be aware of, to say, okay, they have a pattern running of disappointment. I don't want to disappoint them. So you can consciously choose to make sure you don't try to give any indication that you're going to over deliver and then you can't do that, or you can be a little compassionate around, their circumstance a little bit more, because now you understand, hey, they're doing a lot and they're not getting a lot of praise, or they're not getting a lot of stuff in return. And it's really a nice thing to notice, because as women, then we can connect and just help the other person, think of things that are self-care, or, talk to them about in a way that is like, hey, I understand, maybe you're feeling a little disappointed these days. How can I help you with that? Or tell me about that. And that's where people will say, wow, I can't believe she gets me. How did she know that? And it's those subtle little things that we're sharing with each other about what our emotional state is.
I love that. I love that tip. I'm thinking now of everyone I know that has that. And then I looked at myself too. I was like, do I have that too?
And I have a friend who I know when she's overdoing or overcommitted herself, because those will show up. Yeah. And then when she stops and does some self-care and like delegates, then they go away. And I have watched through the years. And so you can always tell when she's a little bit too spread too thin, and, offering some support there can help really change that pattern. For men have them too, but I see them a lot on women.
Yeah. I see my dad having them too. Excellent. So one question came through. What does it really mean when people arms are crossed? That's not facial recognition. I don't know. For me, right now I was actually doing it kind of propped on the desk. So I'm being lazy on my end. I'm cold and lazy right now, kind of relaxed. I don't know if you have any information. I know you specialize in facial recognition, but do you have any thoughts on when people cross their arms like this? Yeah. I think it's closed energy, right? That's what it seems like.
Well, and I think that it's one of those things that we have to look at the person and who they are, because some people it's definitely that. Some people it's just kind of a protection mechanism, but they're not closed off. They're just, some people feel energy more, and so they're a little bit in energetic overwhelm. It doesn't mean they don't want to share. It just means that maybe they're just trying to create a little bit of space. Yes. Sometimes it's just comfortable. And so you kind of have to watch that person's behavior over time, because maybe they don't just do this when they're angry. Maybe they do this when they're laughing too, because it's just a comfort place for them. So, sometimes those gestures, we really have to look at the context a little bit more, because for sure, if you're in an interview and then all of a sudden somebody does that, it's pretty obvious. But if over time you're watching something, then, definitely faces show how some people are way more sensitive to energy than others. And this is just a way to kind of build a little bit of a buffer so that they can stay engaged. So it depends on the face that is coordinated with the action, and it also depends on the situation and whether or not it's a habit or it's a response, because those are very different things.
Excellent. All right. So what other tips one more tip? Do you have one more tip to share with us?
Yes. Well, I shared the eyebrow one last time. Do you think I should share that here too?
Sure, share it. That was a good one.
Yeah. So especially if you're kind of doing a sales call or a transaction kind of thing in person or even on Zoom, eyebrows are really a robust area of the face. They tell us a lot of information, but one of the things they do is they tell us about how people make decisions. So if someone has really straight eyebrows, like I tend to have pretty straight eyebrows, and that's really a logical decision maker. So they like to hear the A, B, C, D things. If somebody's eyebrows are more rounded, then that's someone who's more of a people-centered decision maker. So they may be looking for logic, but if you don't talk about how it's going to be important for the people that are surrounded by that person, then they may not give you a yes as quickly as you would like. So one of the good tips about that is that if you even are looking at somebody's Facebook profile and you're going on a sales call with them, you can just at least take a look at their eyebrows and see if they're similar or different than yours. Because if you're a rounded eyebrow person, you're going to lead with all the things that are good for the family, but you're talking to a straight eyebrowed person and they're just like, give me the facts, give me the dollars and cents. I want to know the process A, B, and C. And so looking at eyebrows and seeing if yours are similar or different from the person that you're trying to get agreement from will really help you to proactively change the frame of reference and your frame of the offer with that person so that it resonates more with the way they would choose to hear it in order to say yes.
Yes, I love that tip. And my husband has I think last time we decided I had more round eyebrows, and someone had mentioned the shortness, also the short eyebrows on either end. Someone mentioned that it's also reflective of Hashimoto's, which I think is really interesting as well. So if you have Hashimoto's and your eyebrows look like mine, please let me know. I'm dying to see if that's there's some truth in that. So more love came through. So Valerie says, wow, I can't wait to try this. Lisa says, that's an interesting one. Totally, I agree. And then Kashana said, we forget people need to be held, hugged, and touched. Context, yes, Michelle. I love that. And so Lisa, I'm reading Lisa's comment. What about Botox? How can you tell? Doesn't that skew results? That's an excellent question. Thoughts about that? I guess eyebrows too, right? But I think fundamentally, even if I got mine done, I haven't had mine done since the beginning of the pandemic, but they would still be the same shape. So thoughts on that?
Yeah. So in terms of eyebrows, if you change this shape, you're going to change the way you react to the decision-making strategy that is your inherent one. So there's always a caution with, okay, be careful what you're doing, because then your reflection is going to see the new shape and it's going to unconsciously read that, but that isn't how you're designed. So that's part of that's a caution there with anything you do cosmetically on your face. So you're designed a certain way, and if you change it, then you have to understand the impact, because you are reading your own face in the mirror too, and other people are reading you. So they're going to see the face that's in front of them, but they aren't going to see the face that you were born with, which is the way your kind of personality DNA is showing up. In terms of Botox and things like that, when we read a face in the moment. So if we don't see something, then it's not reflective of what we would see if it wasn't there. You kind of have to read what they're giving you. However, the reason most Botox doesn't last long is, there is kind of the shelf life of it, or, right. I don't know the chemical stuff, but also because unless you change the thought pattern and the emotional pattern that is creating the expression that is creating the wrinkle, you're going to keep making that face, whether or not Botox lets you move it. And as it wears off, you're still going to get the wrinkle back, because you're still thinking and feeling the same way whenever you're up against a scenario that makes you make that face. So unless you do some work during the time that the Botox is there, like deal with an emotional issue or something, so then you don't have the same reaction, then you're always going to need to touch that up. But if the Botox kind of gives you this little window of opportunity to deal with the emotional thing without the charge of seeing it in the mirror all the time. And then if you can do that, then chances are the wrinkle isn't going to come back, or it's not going to come back as strong.
Got it. So yeah. So Lisa, let us know if that answered. She said she was referring to the mouth lines, but I think that pertains to the mouth lines. I guess you could get the Botox here to make it so it doesn't go down. I've never done, I've done my forehead. I mean, it's like I don't have it anymore because you can see, but I'm very expressive. So for me, when I have done my forehead, it leaves like that because that's not going to ever change. I'm completely expressive all the time.
Yeah. And actually, so those lines around the mouth are disappointment, but the mouth is also all about this connection to your primary female caregiver. So that mother energy and your relationship around your caregiver-ness and whoever that caregiver person was in your life. And I actually once had a client who had a lot of lines around her mouth, and she would get them Restylane, I guess it's a Botox equivalent. Yeah. She would do that to get rid of them. And as we were working together, she had a lot of mother issues that were needed to be looked at and worked through and cleared. And over the time that we worked together, in the beginning, she told me she did that. And so I saw pictures of her prior to having that. So I knew what the wrinkles were like. And once she reconciled that relationship and those emotions, those wrinkles did not come back.
Wow.
So you can do something about them too.
That's so fascinating. Lisa says, I find it difficult to read people's faces when they've had Botox, and generally I read them well. Thank you. Yeah, that's great information. Excellent information. Final advice that you have, Michelle? This is so great. I'm so fascinated by this. I'm so excited that femmes are too. I just find I could listen to this all day long. I love this topic. Final advice.
Final advice is when you look in the mirror, notice the feature that's kind of doing a little blinking light at you, not because you want to say, oh no, look at me, I'm getting older, or what's happening, or just because that feature is telling you something about what's going on inside. And so, it may be, oh no, I've got a pimple on my cheek. And it's not about the pimple, it's about, oh, maybe I'm having some trouble speaking up right now. And what's that all about? So when you can have a more conscious way of looking at yourself and then potentially learn more about what all of this means, then you can almost self-diagnose when you're a little off, because the mirror is just reflecting all of you. And we tend to just look at, the bags or the this, but they have a much more robust meaning in terms of our health and our personality and our emotional state.
Yes. Yes. It reminds me, my husband's first time getting a massage treatment must have been about a year and a half ago. It was before the pandemic. And I remember going in, he's 50 and I'll be 50. And so we went in for a couple's massage, must have been like an anniversary or Valentine's or something. And he came out and he looked so much younger, because he had never taken an hour off from anything and just sat and did nothing and just relaxed. All of the wrinkles that he had, he looked literally like 20 years younger, and we've been together for almost 30 years. It was insane. So when you say that, like if you address those issues, if you do, it's not going to take away everything, because at the end of the day, we're all aging, but I would have never believed it, that taking an hour of just self-care could make such a difference in someone's skin. Or even like when you rest well, or when you go on vacation, you come back and you like look so much lighter in your skin. It does so much when you do address those issues that are hovering around. I wouldn't have never ever believed it. But seeing him, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to take time. I have to rest. I have to do my 8 hours of sleep, because it showed up on his face, and it was incredible. So Julie says, yes, so fascinating. And Lisa says self-care is so important. And Grace says, amen. Yes, amen for all of that. So Michelle, how can femmes find you to learn more about the work that you're doing in this world?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Michelle Butt 4, I think, because I have 4 kids, or just michellebutt.com. There's lots of information there. On February 28th, I'm doing an intro workshop. So if you're interested in that, there should be a link on my Facebook page somewhere to join, so you can learn to read faces a little bit. That would be really fun to have you with us. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. And Michelle, of course, she's a FemCity Global member, so you will see her in our classroom teaching and speaking and coaching. And as the next couple of months come through. You have more love that came through. Marissa said, love these. I have to watch the recordings too. Andy says 1 hour of self-care with treatments are so restorative. Love this reminder. And then Grace, of course, says we have to take care of our skin. Yes. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. Valerie says, thank you so much. Thank you for those that joined us live. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. This was incredibly enlightening. Let us know, ladies, if you guys start doing these things in your business. Let us know. Keep in touch. Feel free to reach out to Michelle. Let her know what aha moments you've had taking all this information on. And we will see you guys back next week. To learn more about FemCity, head over to FemCity.com. And I invite you to try out FemCity if you haven't done it before. It's a great group of women. And thanks again, Michelle.
Thank you. Bye.